This is VSiN By The Books on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Has everybody caught their breath? Welcome to the Friday edition of VSiN By The Books. Dave Ross here, downtown Las Vegas here at Circus Sports. He is our closer. Jensen Lewis back in the win, Cleveland, Ohio. Wow. What a first round. It's in the books last night. I know we all lost a little bit of sleep watching that all night long. It is a riveting event, Jensen. We're going to get through it, the winners and losers and the cashing of the tickets and how we all did there and fared from a gambling standpoint. But you're there in Cleveland. And the draft really did end up starting at 2. Maybe all the names were the same, but the teams were not. When the draft started and we saw that Cleveland was trading away the 2 pick, tell me what the vibe was like in Cleveland and how are they now after trading out of 2 and not getting the guy we all thought, the books thought, the numbers said that it was going to be Travis Hunter to Cleveland, and that did not end up being the case.
First of all, we got chaos, all right? That's what we wanted, and we certainly got that. Didn't know who the teams would be that'd be involved, but with a lead up that final hour before the draft started, a lot of intrigue, and then, of course, we get the blockbuster trade. So, first of all, masterclass from Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, for getting out of number 2 and getting the haul that he was able to, and probably had a second opportunity at 5 if he wanted to shop that pick as well. You and I have talked about it. I've been on record the last couple of weeks. The Browns are not competing this year. They don't have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't matter. And now maybe they get one tonight here in rounds 2 or 3.
Sure.
But they're still at least a year or 2 away from really seriously competing in the AFC. I had said to you I would not take Hunter at 2. It would be Abdul Carter no matter what, if you're making the pick and you're staying there. So you would have thought on social media that I didn't know a damn thing about football from the irrational Cleveland fan base, if you will. But Dave, I think we sounded it out pretty well.
Yeah.
When you think about where, like, if Travis Hunter is a Cam Ward, okay, you can entice me to want to stay there and listen all the way up to the end and see how much people are going to mortgage the future to try and get there. And Jacksonville, in a sense, did that.
Yeah.
But I think Andrew Berry understands what the model is. And that is, you have got to control the line of scrimmage. You have to be dominant there. Why has Philadelphia won a couple Super Bowls here, in the recent era? Well, why has Kansas City done the same thing? Yes, they have a generational quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs do. The Eagles have a stud in Jalen Hurts and a supporting cast, but they control the line of scrimmage. And that's where I think Cleveland did just a hell of a job. I love Mason Graham for them. Myles Garrett is going to be arguably one of the best to ever do it in his era. I think they did a phenomenal job of being able to monetize not only to jump back a little bit and get a guy that's going to impact him day one, but now they are set up. And what we all heard, Dave, is a sweet spot of the draft, right? It was this area we're going to get into immediately when the Browns are on the clock to start round 2 tonight.
I'm with you. I felt the same way, that with the team with that many holes, again, a win total of 4.5 tells you everything you need to know, right, before the draft, that they had so many holes to fill that if you can help do that, trade back to 5, pick up multiple picks, that might be the way to go. I think you and I were surmising that maybe they could have traded out of 5 as well. They didn't end up doing that. They ended up making the pick there at 5. But again, we have so much to break down here on the 3-hour program. There are a lot of other things going on too, so people were not ignoring that. Josh Ingles is going to join us here at the top of our number 2 to talk Major League Baseball. Of course, we're going to have the Daily Diamond with Jensen here as the program goes. Lou Finicaro was in town for the draft. I believe he was on with Mitch and Paulie yesterday. A really nice picture making its way on social media. We'll leave it at that for Lou. And we'll have Lou talking about UFC Fight Night. It's a really good card that's going to be going on in UFC Kansas City this weekend. I'll give you my plays as the show goes on as well. I'm going to get to our rookie player props that we see so far out there. And then JD, the night on ice, Jonathan Davis is going to join us to break down everything going on in the NHL. So much to get to. Without further ado, let's get to it. Our highlights and headlines.
Help your bottom line with today's highlights and headlines.
And it does start there at number 2. And obviously, Cam Ward going number 1, it was all implied. Now, if we'd sat here today and said, yeah, Travis Hunter 2 to Cleveland, that's what we all surmised too, right? So until it's actually made, maybe there's always that little bit of whoa, could it actually happen? But it did happen. Cam Ward, number 1. That was not the surprise. At 2, it was the surprise as we broke it down. Now, Jacksonville did trade a 2nd and a 4th in this year's draft, 2025, and 2026, a first rounder to Cleveland, plus for a 4th and a 6th in 2025. So you're getting that additional first round pick for Cleveland next year. And Jensen, I'm with you. That is value to move down 3 spots. Okay, we don't know what Travis Hunter is going to be. I think some people think, oh my goodness, Cleveland, you let a generational talent go right out from underneath your fingertips. Other people are going to say, I think like you and I, you needed multiple picks. That was the big shakeup, at least at the first half of this draft.
Agreed. And, again, when you look at where the other holes are for Cleveland, and by contrast to this draft, not a lot of slam dunks as far as the top 2 or 3 picks outside of Cam Ward, Abdul Carter. Will Travis Hunter be great? Yeah, but he's not winning you a division next year. He's not, as far as where he would be with Cleveland. He's going to still need someone to get him the ball. And maybe Trevor Lawrence and Liam Cohen offense there is going to get it done. But I think overall now, and what we do believe next year, Dave, is going to be a very strong quarterback class. Unless Jacksonville just goes out and runs the table and just is surreal, the Browns are getting a top 10 first round pick. And depending on where the draft capital ends up after this year, I mean, you're going to have a boatload of ammo to get what you really need, when I think realistically, Andrew Berry believes that he can stockpile this year, be ready to have some powder dry going into next year, and then assess and see what the needs are at that point.
I agree wholeheartedly with that assessment. So I thought it was a win-win for Cleveland as well. Of course, at 5, they end up getting you finally start to get some Mason Graham there is going to go 5 overall. He was plus 350 to be the 5th overall player. Again, that could have been Jacksonville, ends up being Cleveland at that spot. Ashton Jeanty goes 6, something we talked about a lot on the program. And again, our own boss here, Steve Cohen, big Raider fan, had to talk him off the ledge a little bit initially. And I think now even Steve and Raider backers are going, man, do we really need a running back at 6? I actually love the pick for them. It felt like a very Pete Carroll type of pick to make there. If you go back, obviously, to their days in Seattle when you're winning Super Bowls and you traded for Marshawn Lynch way back in the day when he was in Buffalo. You got that type of guy. He's a home run hitter there. What'd you make of Jeanty going there? And again, he was plus $4 to go, number 6 overall, and Graham going 5 at plus 350.
Again, just from the pay scale, boy, second highest paid running back now in the league, considering where his draft slot and the bonus is going to be too. So that's kind of an intriguing thought in that offense, in that division, in which we believe could be the most competitive, at least in the AFC. You're going to have to try and play a little keep away, but you could also be in that Marshawn Lynch 2.0 with the way Pete Carroll wants to run the football and has done so. Since he's been an NFL head coach. So I think it's great for the offense. I think it does a lot for you to be able to move the chains and have a dynamic running back there. Again, is he a Saquon Barkley? Remains to be seen. But, at that point, for what the Raiders' needs are and where they are in the competitive window, that's going to be pretty solid for them, I think, immediately.
The chalk did hold. John Daigle, who we had on the program, he just absolutely nailed it with the picks. It's certainly 1 through 5 there of getting these guys. Cam Ward 1, Hunter, as we mentioned, 2 to Jacksonville, 3 Abdul Carter, Will Campbell, small arms. No, he's going to be fine. In New England, Graham with the trade at 5, Jeanty there at 6. And then it kind of gets a little bit shaken up there. I think it's 7 and 8. I think that's where we thought that maybe you could go tight end at those positions. Jensen, is that a little bit of a surprise what the Jets and Panthers did that's there at 7 and 8?
Yeah, I think you even go all the way between 7 through 10. I think we were all shocked to see Colston Loveland be the first tight end taken, just knowing how revered Tyler Warren is. But I think Tyler Warren ends up in the right place for him in that at 14 to a Colts offense. Now, all of a sudden, you got to find a guy to get him the ball. But when they do, he's going to be a very versatile weapon. I thought Nick Saban was really great in kind of breaking down, how some of these tackles and some of these linemen make so much sense in their destinations. We hear a lot about all the flashy skill players and things of that nature. What do championship teams do in the first round, Dave? They stay boring. They get guys that move the needle from a defensive and an offensive line standpoint. I mean, this is how you build the foundation and stay competitive for many years. So I thought it was a great breakdown from him, a guy that recruited a lot of these guys. You talk about Will Campbell. He goes, we were the backup option for Will Campbell there at Alabama. But I think those 7 through 10, and particularly, we're waiting to see what the Saints were going to do at 9. But I think Calvin Banks Jr. is phenomenal for them. Kellen Moore knows exactly what needs to be done to be able to succeed. What does Colston Loveland do for you opposite of Cole Kmet there, in Chicago? Maybe Ben Johnson knows something we don't. Michael Williams, by the way, you talk about the Niners getting even better defensively. That was a great pick for them. And, of course, I'll give you the floor for Tyler Booker and your Cowboys.
I will say this, and we'll get into this as the show goes. Luckily, I was on the phone with Brandon Valesky, our producer, going over the show when the Cowboys were selecting 12. So it kept me much calmer because I did not expect Tyler Booker to come off the board at 12. But that being said, in hindsight, you mentioned it, boring, kind of not splashy. Of course, I was looking wide receiver there at 12 to go opposite CeeDee Lamb. But if you're a Tyler and you go in the first round, we draft you in Dallas. Tyler Smith, Tyler Guyton, Tyler Booker. That's what we've done the last 3 years. So you have to hope that if Guyton, you kick him out now to left tackle, you hope that Tyler Smith is playing left guard, and you hope that Tyler Booker can play right guard. He's nasty. He's got a bad disposition about him. I like that. So that's what I want at 12. Wasn't what I was thinking they would do initially at 12, but I'm going to stay calm. I'm not going to freak out about it, Cowboy Nation, because I already saw you guys freaking out about it. Let's relax. Jerry's got a pretty good track record. One of these first-round guys named Tyler playing offensive line. When we come back, we'll get into much more. Some of this big tickets at cash in round 1 of the NFL draft. So much more to get to. Come on back. Just getting it started. Friday edition, VSiN By The Books.
Tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, the post-first-round draft edition of. By the way, great job of the network yesterday. Hopefully people were checking it out. Live betting, we're going to get to Matt Euman's absolutely nailed some of his projections here. And I just thought it was a really good night for the network as well. It's amazing to me how big this night has become for America in the sporting calendar. Some people put this up there with the Super Bowl. I mean, I'm not going to go that far, Jensen.
Yeah.
But it does. There are people that are more into last night in that 3-4 hour show of the first round draft than they are a lot of other sporting events in our country. So it has manifested itself into this massive event.
Yeah, it has. How about even last night? We had Laura Rutledge and Molly McGrath make an announcement about the schedule announcement. This is how far we've come. We've got a segment, a part of the draft to announce when we're announcing the schedule release. So you're right. It's now a lot of people out there saying, "Oh, I would love to go to Green Bay. I would love to go to the draft." I'm on the flip side, man. I was so comfortable from my house and watching and having my own bathroom and not having to wait and having food and drink and whatever I want. I don't know about you, man. Like I don't know. It's not like a bucket list experience to go stand there for 5 hours and wait for these picks.
This is where I'm a little bit skewed because I've never done it as a fan. I've done it multiple times as a media member. So as a media member, and then I'm getting one-on-ones with the players afterward. That's fun, right? But it's not like you're sitting there to get to that porta potty. I'm with you.
Get it.
That might not be exactly what I'd want to do. Very quickly, before we get back to the draft, we did have a big NBA implications last night out there. Boy, if you had the Pistons plus 1.5, Knicks get the 2-point win. Overs cash there, 118-116. Knicks now back in command, you would think, Jensen, of the series, 2-1. Any takeaways from it? I feel like the Knicks are surviving. And again, we knew the Pistons would push them, but they really are getting pushed. It feels like a legit series.
No, kind of what we talked about yesterday was we felt Karl Anthony Towns would get heavily involved again. Jalen Brunson even admitting after the game 2, defeat that he's got to be a better facilitator. Well, that's how it's drawn up right there. Towns with 31, Brunson with 30. OG Anunoby was awesome, had 22. Mikal Bridges had 20. That's how it's buttered there for your New York Knicks. And obviously we know they're top heavy from the starters. I give Cade Cunningham all the credit in the world. I mean, he's trying to will this team across the finish line in some instances, comes up short there. Tell you the other one too, if you backed Memphis, if you thought that they were actually going to show up, they actually did. Almost were able to pull the stunner here, but the Thunder do what championship teams do. Didn't play their best game, but boy, that second half, they were locked down and got it across the line.
114-108 is the final there. So Grizzlies cover the big number at home, but my goodness, when you've got a 77-51 lead at halftime and you can't close that out if you're Memphis, holy mackerel. So SGA goes off for 31-8. Scottie Pippen Jr., great night in defeat, 28 points there. But again, if you want to wager a money line play on OKC and lay the big number and parlay a piece of, I got to feel like Memphis, everything they had, they fired in that first half. I don't know that they got anything left for game 4. That feels like that series is all but inevitable there after that comeback by OKC. And then the Clippers, wow, 117-83 over the Nuggets as they take a 2-1 lead. Never in doubt there. They hold the Nuggets to just 13 points in the fourth quarter, 19 in the second, Jensen. So maybe we understand why. I don't know if Michael Malone, this is why they made changes there, but it looks like kind of rudderless right now, down 2-1.
Yeah, and the Clippers shooting almost 50% from 3-point land. That's going to get it done and give you that kind of differential in the final score. I thought Jamal Murray was very solid considering the health issues he's been dealing with. Jokic another triple double. Aaron Gordon with 15. So it kind of where we expected, I think, some of these series to be. Thunder, no question about it. Just the way they got there in Game 3. Just a testament to their defense there. I mean, the Grizzlies at 31 points in the second half. That's it. Clippers take command. I think the Clippers now kind of have taken that first, big shot to the chest, to the face, and now back up off the mat and have reasserted themselves almost in a similar fashion to where the Knicks are there in that Pistons series.
In the NHL night on ice, again, we're going to have Jonathan Davis to help us break this down in hour number 3 in fuller detail. But we had 2 unders. Those are both in the East, and we had 2 overs, and those are both in the West. So the Panthers get the 2-0 lead, win over Tampa Bay to take a 2-0 lead now in that Battle of Florida. Pretty impressive there. And then Toronto goes up now 3-0 with a 3-2 overtime win over the Sens in Ottawa. Wild get the 5-2 win against VGK. That could be the big surprise out west. And the Blues back in the mat. They get a 7-2 win over the Jets. So they're up to Winnipeg still leads that series 2-1. Danger for VGK at all, Jensen, after that game last night?
I don't know who feels like they're in more danger. VGK there with what happened, or if you're Tampa Bay and you get skunked and Vasilevsky looks lost. I'm sorry. I had the Lightning on the puck line back-to-back games here. I'm not even close, for where Tampa is. So, yeah, you talk about some trepidation. The Panthers with the injuries and the issues. Bobrovsky has looked amazing. And feels like a commanding 2-0 series lead for Florida right now.
It really does. So they have home ice now going back to Florida, but maybe home ice is maybe not all that's cracked up to be in this Battle of Florida series. Let's get back to the draft here very quickly, Jensen. I do want to hear from Matt Humans. We had him on Tuesday, gave his projections there again on the VSiN live shows last night as they were doing the draft live. Matt was really on fire. Let's hear from Matt. He goes 7 for 7 on that mock draft.
Something to keep an eye on here, guys. We've got 6 picks in. Cam Ward 1 to the Titans. Travis Hunter 2 to the Jaguars. We'll recap that trade in a little bit. Abdul Carter 3 to the Giants. Chalk. Will Campbell 4 to the Patriots. Chalk. Mason Graham to the Browns at number 5. Chalk from a week ago. On Monday. What do we got?
I'm about to go 7 for 7.
Yes.
Tyler Warren?
No.
Jalen Walker?
No.
Offensive tackle Armand Mimbu from Missouri to the Jets at number 7.
The greatest mock drafter in the history of the universe, Matt Humans, now a perfect 7 for 7.
That's another
as
bet.
Armand Membo goes number 7.
How about that? 7 for 7 for Matty. Pretty darn impressive there, Jensen. I mean, look, the Membu pick was a really nice pick to cap that 7 for 7. But, you know, when you're watching it unfold in real time, it's kind of like Usual Suspects when Kevin Spacey's kind of looking around.
Yeah.
And you're just taking it all in. That had to be Matt just kind of going, oh, my, the board is falling exactly the way I thought it would fall.
Yeah, a little Rain Man moment
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
right?
Totally.
It's just phenomenal. After I tried to give him his roses on social, I'm like, let's go. And he's like, it didn't do really well after that. But either way, I think, what did we have? The top 5, the correct order was almost plus $4. That cash last night.
Right.
And Mason Graham, 5th overall, plus 350, as you had mentioned off the top of the show. Jense 4-1. And then all of a sudden, 8, 9, and 10. And I think that's where you and I left off yesterday was if we feel that the top 5 is what they were, and we just didn't know what teams it would be, then let's see if the Raiders are that team that gets out. We saw the meteoric rise in odds for Jense into the top 5. And would it be Jacksonville? Would the Bears try and trade up to 5 to try and get him? Well, I mean, some of the big ticket cashes, I think T-Mac McMillan out of Arizona, that one is probably the biggest shocker of him going to Carolina. But now Bryce Young has got what a weapon, right? And you feel like that offense going to take a step forward, even just with that sole addition.
There, if you're watching here, VSiN.com, the big tickets at cash in that top 10. And Colston Loveland, look, I thought they would go tight end, so you could have bet that and get the position right, but I would have the wrong player, right? And sometimes that's the exercise of position. We talked about it for the last 2 weeks and why we kept giving you those betting markets for positional player, because sometimes you can identify that need, but maybe not the right guy. Were you surprised that they went Loveland there with the first tight end? Again, I thought tight end was the right position, just not sure they got the right one.
I agree. And it remains to be seen, right, what he does and how Ben Johnson intends to deploy him, knowing you have Cole Kmet already there in the fold. So, hey, they did a great job of in Detroit, knowing what you had there with the double tight end sets that they would run. So I think you and I both thought it would have been a Tyler Warren, just with the receiving ability. But hey, Colson, they must have seen something they really like to pop in their top 10.
Yeah, Carolina getting Tet McMillan is a surprise, and I didn't see that coming there for Carolina as well. But again, if you're really sold on Bryce Young, which it sounds like to me, you're trying to get him some help there. Maybe that makes some sense, but I'm with you, Jensen. I thought a couple of those were questionable at best, but we'll find out. We're not here to tell you those are bad picks, good picks. It's just we'll give you the picks, and the way we saw the betting markets associated with them, time will tell whether or not these picks are all going to work out or not. You can bet the ponies, not just the NFL draft, people. So check it out if you haven't done so already. First Bet lets you wager on hundreds of horse races every single day, top tracks across the U.S. and around the world. Sign up at firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days up to $200. Head to firstbet.com and do so today. When we come back, we're talking baseball. The Daily Diamond is next.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
We are back, VSiN By The Books, on this Friday edition. Get back to the NFL draft shortly, Jensen Lewis. But it was so beautiful yesterday because baseball was so smart. Like, no disrespect to the NHL and NBA, but they got lost in the wash last night, right? But baseball actually did it right. Can we give Manfred some credit? I don't know if it was just a faux pas, but they had a lot of early baseball. You could watch some baseball before you ever saw the draft.
Yeah, they had two-thirds, I think, of the games on the slate, abbreviated slate yesterday too, in the afternoon in the doubleheader. The doubleheader even from Kansas City and Colorado, game 2 finished before round 1 started, I think. So job well done. But yeah, back to it. Full slate tonight and a lot of big weekend series to get underway.
Let's get to it then. Without further ado, it's time for our edition of the Daily Diamond. Jensen, I'm glad you mentioned the Royals getting that doubleheader sweep because I was like, man, if they don't sweep the Rockies, they're going to fall further behind Detroit. A great start for the Motor City Kitties.
Yeah, no taming these Tigers, right? They welcome in the Baltimore Orioles, who have struggled mightily so far this season. The going not going to get any easier for Baltimore. Detroit 8-2 as a home favorite so far this year. 7-0, perfect 7 for 7 in series openers, and a big reason why Spencer Torkelson has been on fire at Comerica Park. How about 3 homers, 13 RBI in 13 home games. So some leans for me. If you feel that trend of series opening victories continues, why wouldn't you, just knowing the struggles that Baltimore has had? So Tigers money line, and Spencer Torkelson, for you people on DraftKings, the hits runs RBI market is kind of fun if you don't just want to go on the total bases. So Torkelson to have 2 or more in that category is another lean for me.
15-10 start for the Tigers. How about the Orioles right now? 10-14, not so good to begin the year. What do you have for the boys in the land?
Yeah, guard the yard. That's kind of what Cleveland has done, and even in the betting market, very similar to where Detroit is. Detroit, 8-2 is home favorites. Cleveland right behind them there at 7-2 when they are favored on the money line. Stephen Kwan, current 7-game hitting streak, hitting nearly 400. Alex Bregman, who we know has had just a field day at Fenway Park, now takes the show on the road and has been quite good. 340, 4 doubles, 3 homers away from Boston. So a couple of leans. Let's just make it easy here. Kwani and Bregman, 2+ hits, runs, RBI individually. Going to be a great series. That first one on Apple TV tonight.
By the way, with Bregman coming over this year, those 4 doubles already, everything they thought he would be and then some so far here to begin the year?
God, you would think so, right? And just knowing that he provides the ability for people to have to pitch to Rafi Devers, even with the just dismal start. Remember, it was Devers who did not have a hit for a while, and now all of a sudden had caught fire and is kind of been yo-yoing. Bregman has been the one consistent so far in the middle of that lineup.
Only 2 games back, and they're at 14-13, so the East kind of suppressed right now, but certainly Bregman living up to all the hype and then some. Boy, I'm going to be in the weird position potentially of rooting for the Phillies. I'll tell you why later, but what do you have on the north side today?
All right, afternoon delight. We get a little 2:20 Eastern first pitch here, and the Phillies and the Cubs, a big series and big implications already, not only for both clubs, but also if you're an over player. You are remembering just a week ago when we gave out the over, and we saw the winds blowing out upwards of 40 miles an hour, and it was 2-1 in the 7th inning, and then we get 20 runs after that for that over to be a rocking chair. So speaking of the over, Dave, the Cubs 8-2-1 to the over when they are at Wrigley Field. That is the highest percentage in the National League. Big reason why. Kyle Tucker, who I have in pocket at 50-1 to lead the league in RBI, 14 extra base hits in 22 games against right-handed starting pitching. Taijuan Walker going to get the start here for Philly this afternoon. So I will lean Tucker 2 or more total bases. And not that we're blindly betting the over here, but you got 2 offenses that are quite good at this point early in the season. So why not the full game over lean as well?
It's something I tweeted at you and our guy, Will Hill, because Will, for the last couple of years, has heard me talk about Cincinnati, Jensen. I wanted to run this by you very quickly as to why I might be rooting for the Phillies today. So at the Westgate here, not too far away, they don't have an app. Okay, but now I can check the app, right? And I'd have to go down physically because I can't, I'd have to put the money in there and then go plus 775 for the Reds to win the Central right now. All the other shops in town, 450, 5-1 if you're lucky, 775. And so I started to look at it, and I went, man, the Cubs have already played a really tough part of their schedule, but they still do have a lot of the NL East to come. Is that a playable? I haven't played it yet. Remember, the Reds were idle yesterday, Cubs were off as well, so I don't assume that number's going to change. But I might get to the window before this first game goes today. Is 775 enough that I could dip in on the Reds?
Yeah, I think so. Just kind of seeing where they are right now. 2 games back just of a playoff spot in and of itself. You look at 2 ways to get in. You win the division, obviously you're getting in. But yeah, I think that for as bad or inconsistent as the bullpen has been, I mean, there's a handful of victories. You and I can just think right off the top of our head, 2 or 3 of them out west where they gave away what could have been wins. The Reds are the only team, Dave, entering play today in the National League that have surrendered fewer than 100 runs. They've given up 97. Everyone else has 100 or more. Just saying, as inconsistent as the pen has been, they've been right there. So I'm absolutely with you. I think it's an actionable number.
And by the way, I misspoke. It's the Super Sports Book. They do have an app. They don't have a kiosk, so you can't go there in the middle of the night like I like to do and put some money in there. You got to wait until they're open and then give. That's the way you got to reload there. So I will be thinking about that 775 today. How about the Bombers going up against the Jays? All of a sudden, the Jays maybe hitting a little bit of the skids here. What do we make of this one today?
All right, so fascinating little dynamic here. Anytime at home, Aaron Judge is a great bet, and of course the dimensions there really don't hold him at all. So how about 476? 6 of his 7 home runs this year at Yankee Stadium. Today's starting pitcher, Jose Barrios, he has 4 career bombs off of him. Now, intriguing because Toronto away from Rogers Center has been one of the better teams to the run line. So they've actually been very competitive on the road here. 8-4 to the run line as an away team. But let's just stick with the narrative here. Aaron Judge at home has been a juggernaut, 2 or more total bases. Judge to hit a home run today, just knowing the career numbers and the success that he's had, could be a monster series for Aaron Judge. Already almost, $2 favorite for the MVP? In some places.
Wow.
Kind of crazy. We're not even to May 1st, and that's where it is right now.
By the way, I can't trill, but you did a great job with Barrios. Fantastic.
Barrios.
Right there. What about the Jays next? They have lost 5 in a row, right? Great start to the season here. Is this a little bit more of what we thought they would be? Because they were that kind of pleasant surprise here in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, to me, it's the offense again. And just looking at some of the numbers here, you look at teams that have scored fewer runs than Toronto just in the American League. Ironically, Texas is in there right now, which I would not have had on my bingo card. I think we did expect Chicago and Minnesota to struggle. Kansas City is in there as well. Toronto scored 88 runs. Okay, at this point, and still just a game and a half back of a playoff spot. I told you at the beginning of the year, American League felt like so much parity across the board that even if you're at 500 headed into the All-Star break, you're probably going to be alive, just knowing that there's not going to be a team, it feels like, is going to run away from the pack.
By the way, we were talking about this yesterday. One of my favorite markets to wager into, I know Gil Alexander on the network here on a numbers game coming up after us. He's big into it as well. Will be next week, I believe Wednesday, when we get to the last day of April before May, and then it's going to reset all those bets. Remember, because we had the games overseas in March, so you kind of had the March and April most wins. You're going to have one day to handicap, Jensen, the best record in May. I've already begun mine because I just love this market here. Do you like that market, by the way, to look at those schedules for those 30-some-odd days?
It's fun. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Gil has the Mets in pocket for most wins, March and April. If I'm not mistaken, I feel like I remember hearing him have that. I know I have the Dodgers.
First to 10, I think.
First to 10. Okay.
I mean, it could be for the month, and if he's got it for the month, he's sitting pretty right now. And by the way, the Mets are going to begin a series here in Washington, D.C., so we'll have to ask Gil about that as well. Senga's going to be on the bump against Jake Irvin. But Senga is another guy, too, that we looked at, and he does look like he's back to being Senga, right? That we can put him in that Cy Young category if he stays healthy?
I would say so. I mean, his number is cut in half, I think, at this point. He was 45-1 after his last start. And knowing, what dominance he's had, 19 straight scoreless innings, I think he's at right now. So that would certainly be a number. If he continues this, it's only going further south. So you would grab him now if you feel like he's got staying power for the rest of the season.
I totally agree. And by the way, they haven't stretched him out yet, right? He's been like a 5-inning, 6-inning guy here. I wonder, which is fine, right? And bullpen's been great for New York so far this season. So everything right now is coming up roses for the Metropolitans. If you want to bet smarter with better insights each and every day, you should just wake up, check out VSiN.com. So you can do that when you're a VSiN Pro subscriber. You get access to everything we do for just $59 all the way through August 1st. When you go to VSiN.com/subscribe, you get that recap from round 1. What about that round 2 and round 3 best bets? How about Hoops Peterson talking baseball here with his best bets? Zachary Cohen got you covered on the hardwood. JD, Jonathan Davis, going to be on this program later on today talking NHL picks. And then your weekend EPL, you want that, or FA Cup picks? Got all that for you. So everything you need when you go to VSiN.com/subscribe.
You're tuned in to VSiN By The Books, right here on VSiN.
Final segment of the Friday edition of VSiN By The Books. Jensen Lewis, Dave Ross with you. It's always great on Friday because we get to do at least a segment. We'll have Lou Finicaro coming up later in the show to give us his thoughts on the UFC Fight Night coming up, T-Mobile Center in Kansas City coming up on Saturday. But an exercise we usually like to do is get our resident veteran, Dave Ross's thoughts on both the preliminary events and also the main card. Buddy, you have been talking about the main card and really the main event for a while. When you saw the numbers go up, you had said initially, hey, the wrong guy is favored. We need to, if you want to get down on Carlos Prates right now, go ahead and do it because that price is only going to go south. You turned around to the commercial break. You saw at Circa still plus $1.20 on the underdog right now. And I think you almost came out of your seat trying to go rebet it. So give us your thoughts. It is a fascinating dynamic, right, between these two fighters. You have the technical striking of Gary, and obviously, with where, the Dana White in the Contender Series, you saw Prates come out of that 4-0 in the UFC, all wins by knockout. Give us your thoughts, man. Break it down for us and why you think the dog is the side to go to. You
and I talked about it when the numbers came out almost 2 weeks ago now on the Monday because they've had a week off for the UFC, right? And at that point, you were looking at about Prates $1.20, $1.15 in the marketplace. And then as it went, he went all the way to even money as of 2 days ago. So the Prates money coming, and bam, now we've got the buyback to Ian Machado Gary, and Prates goes back to where he almost was 2 weeks ago, plus $1.20. And it will be a rebet for me. I love the sniper in Carlos Prates in this spot. Again, this is somebody I've bet on Ian Machado Gary every single time that he's been in the UFC, except for when he took on Rakhmonov. And look, Shavkat, I give Machado Gary a lot of credit for going 5 rounds with a real killer in Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like, that is, even in defeat, his only defeat in the UFC, Jensen, that is something you can actually say is a plus for Ian Machado Gary. I'm not one of those people that thinks that he's Fugazi. We've talked about a lot in the context of Paddy Pimblett, where a lot of people have been looking to fade Machado Gary. They've been looking to fade Paddy Pimblett. And every time I look to fade, say, Paddy Pimblett, I end up on the Paddy Pimblett side. And so far, that's worked out for me every single time. This is a Paul Sorvino fight. Now I got to turn my back on you. I got to turn my back on Gary here. If you want to back the Gary side, here's what I would recommend. You play Ian Machado Gary by decision. Because if he wins, that's the way he's going to win. You go back and look, since he came into the UFC, he's got 2 finishes. That's it. In his entire 4-year career. It was his first fight ever in the UFC back in 2021, and then it was a couple of years against D-Rod, Daniel Rodriguez, and that was a really good stoppage from Machado Gary. I was on his side that night 2 years ago. It was a really good first-round finish. That's not going to happen against Carlos Prates because the problem is going to be Machado Gary is going to be on his bicycle a lot, and we talk about this with scoring as well. So I think you can play Prates 2 ways. You can play him on the money line here, plus $1.20 now, plus $1.10, depending on where you're getting this number. Or I would look to the KO prop for Carlos Prates. Because to me, you can get that plus $1.80, might even be a little bit higher today with the repricing overnight. I don't think that Ian Machado Gary, as good as Rakhmonov is, and we know how good he is, Rakhmonov's more of that submission-style finisher, that he's going to look to get you and grab that neck. And that's the way he'd like to get you at. Yes, he has knockouts as well. But that's what I think he was trying to do against Machado Gary. Then when he realized he had the fight kind of in the bag, you take the foot off a little bit. That's not going to be Prates. The thing with Carlos is he's normally a fighter you wouldn't want to back when you watch him because, Jensen, he's smoking cigarettes right up to the ring entrance, right? And so you go, well, this guy can't be a cardio machine. Is he going to go 5 rounds? He hasn't gotten out of a 3rd round. He hasn't gotten to a 3rd round. The power with Carlos Prates is it's the timing of that left hand that he has. That I think is going to be a real problem for Ian Machado Gary. So I'm going to be playing Prates by KO, and I will at $1.20 just in case it goes the distance. I do think he's going to do enough damage, and I think Gary's always going to be on his bicycle going backwards. And that doesn't look well for the judges either. Prates KO, and I also like him on the money line. Yeah, plus $1.20 you can get at Circa, as you said. Also still a plus $1.20 at DraftKings here at last check. Co-main event is the light heavyweight, and you were talking about cardio for the main event. Is that where we look if Anthony Smith is going to hang in this one? Plus 350 on the money line for the 36-year-old. It feels like the durability is the one thing if you're handicapping to me. I know you like a play on the over, the total here. Is that where you kind of got to? I know grappling could be, a theme of this fight with Zhang in there, but
How do you kind of assess where you got to the over here and how this fight could have a little bit more duration than potentially the odds tell us?
These are I call these tip of the cap respect plays. And this is a respect play for the Lionheart Anthony Smith who's going to be going out. This is it for Anthony Smith. Now, will he go out on his shield in 5 minutes against Ming Yang Zhang? He could, but I don't think he will. And I do think that I've heard listening for his fight camp this week that it has been a full camp. He's not mailing this thing in there, going to go in there to get knocked out by a young guy. Anthony Smith asked Dana White in the UFC, why are you giving me Ming Yang Zhang? And their response was, we want to see how good he is. Meaning, we know how good you are. We don't know how good he is. So I think this is a survive 5 minutes, and then it's going to be sweaty. That first 5 minutes is going to be sweaty, Jensen. But at plus $1.75, it's a respect play for Anthony Smith. I think he takes the kid in deeper waters to see what he really has, test what we think Ming Yang Zhang is going to be. Over 1.5, plus $1.75, couldn't pass it up.
Absolutely love it. All right, so the featherweight fight on this main card is a little bit of a home game, if you will, for David Onama. Minus $1.80 in some places right now on the money line. Is this also kind of a high risk, high reward play for what you have, particularly in this fight?
I love Giga Chikadze. He's one of my favorite fighters that we've had. Giga has not been the same guy in the last couple of years. And the problem for Giga, he needs space, right? He's got to be able to occupy space to get those Giga kicks out. And those kicks are lethal if you can get him at range. The problem is he doesn't fight guys that crowd you very well. David Onama is a crowder. He's a guy he's a finisher. He's going to want to try to get inside on Giga. And if he does, I think Giga's, as much as I love him and respect him, past his prime just a little bit. I think Onama's the young killer here. 4-1, too juicy to pass up. If it goes the distance, I think Giga is very live to win a decision. And the 2.5 total will tell you that. But I don't think this is going the decision. I think Onama's going to get him out of there. Could be a later stoppage here, but that kid does damage in the pocket. He's going to be in the pocket. That KO prop's a really juicy one at 4-1.
Yeah, I love that. So Onama by knockout there in that one. By the way, Onama, Kansas City native, so right there in the T-Mobile Center. He will certainly have the fan base at his back. One that might not go a long time is the middleweight fight between Pereira and Magomedov. How do you see where the versatility perhaps for Magomedov could be one where he gets to an early result here? Or is this something we have to kind of look at where it could be really close? I know you like the under on the total play here.
Yeah, another one where it's really juicy at plus $1.75. Pereira's just a madman. He's a wild man inside the octagon. He's going to do spinning kicks. He's going to be doing capoeira kicks. He's going to be doing things you just don't normally see in an octagon. And Abus better get the fight down to the ground, because if he doesn't, he's going to get knocked out. So to me, cardio for Michel has been a problem in the past as well. He's a great 5-minute fighter. He might not be a great 7.5-minute fighter, but I don't even think we get out of the first round here. I'm not sure who wins, but I think it's going to be done in one. Give me the under 7.5 minutes at plus $1.75 in what's going to be a wild first 5 minutes.
All right, a couple of other prelims that you have. Schnell and Flick here. You like the under in that one. And also Chris Gutierrez by decision, John Castaneda in the featherweight fight there. A couple interesting undercard fights for you here.
And again, this is if you remember, we were on Goots in this fight against Castaneda. It got canceled. Now it's back. So I really like Gutierrez by decision here. The range that he has and those kicks should be able to keep Castaneda at bay. And another under, Matt Danger Schnell. Love him. The chin, Jensen. Chin's not so good these days.
No.
So I just don't want to trust a guy that I think can make it through 7.5 minutes. Sometimes he's a dead man walking out there. I think this fight's probably done inside of 5 minutes. Not going to pick a winner there, but we're going to get excitement and we're going to get a knockout.
I love it. I love it, buddy. Going to be a great weekend. Can't wait to talk to Lou as well and see what he likes.
You know who's going to be there, right? Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes will be there.
Guarantee you we will see Patrick Mahomes in the front row at UFC Kansas City. By the way, if you're coming out to Las Vegas, Lou Finicaro was out here yesterday. There's a great deal. I've been telling a lot of people about it. If you want to come out, you can stay on my couch if you want, if you're a buddy. Do this deal. It's much better. $500. It's an all-in package here at Circa. It goes all the way through September 4th, so you can book that at the end of May into June, July. You get 2-night stay. You get $100 dining credit, $100 beverage credit, and a daybed at Stadium Swim. It really is as good an offer for $400 and your taxes. All of that is included in it, so you don't have to worry about any surcharges as well. $400, 2 nights right here at Circa. When we come back to the NFL Draft, hour number 2, straight ahead.